Schedule live tonight. So I want to thank everyone for joining me, and I'm going to keep this kind of short tonight. Um, I've been kind of doom scrolling a little bit. As you probably saw in the Angry Prepper, and he gave me a shout out, which I super appreciate. And I dropped this right here. I didn't know that was down there on the floor. Anyway, um, we we've all been looking at this no EBT stuff, and I'm looking at the way people are acting on social media. Hey, KP. Hey, Jason. What's going on? Hey, Scott. And a lot of folks are, there's some people who are being stupid, right? They're just, you could clearly tell they're trolling the universe. Hey, farmer, what's going on? But I want to share this one with you, and I can't share on my phone. I'm actually doing this on my phone. Hey, Scott. Hey, Texas Redleg. What's going on? Hey, Wisconsin. So I'm going to read this for you. I'll watch. Let me see if I can get this girl to play. Telling the community, the EBT community, the reason why they're so upset that their EBT is going away from us. So this gal, the two gals, one was playing the video of the other. Hey, Loretta. Um, hey, folks. If anyone I missed in the chat, but and Loretta, my condolences, hon. Uh, yeah, this woman who the is videoing the other woman is actually kind of comical because she's saying, you were selling your food stamps, you were not using it for the right thing. That's why you're angry. You can't buy soda or whatnot. And now instead of getting nice nails, you're going to have to. Oh, sorry. You're going to have to actually spend your money on food for your children, and you can't buy other things. I'm trying to find. Hold on, let me see if this is. Hold on, this one. No, some of these people are making mockery. Some of them are joking. But like that one girl who was just screaming there, she makes really sarcastic, comical videos. But you can't hear it. Okay, well, basically, a lot of them are complaining. I have 6 kids. I have 5 kids. Um, I can't buy my kids food, and there are a lot of legitimate concerns. Unfortunately, a lot of these folks are encouraging people to go steal. Um, and yeah, I wish I could share it on my phone. Unfortunately, I'm not doing this live stream on my laptop because then I could share the screen. Um, and to me, that's not going to help anything. Uh, one person even did a video and said, "I've been tithing at my church for so many years, and I went to the church to get food help like I needed, and the church said we can't help you." And she said, "I've been tithing for 9 years, and you can't help me with $200 of food." Um, that person, EBT was never supposed to be a lifestyle. No, it wasn't Red Leg. It was supposed to be a support for folks, kind of like unemployment. There's a period of time to help you. Um, with the exception of disabled veterans, the elders, widows, there were some very severe hardship cases. But what we have here is a lot of people who are physically capable of working, they're not working, and, now this benefit is taken away, but you see them in these videos, their nails must be I have a friend, my neighbor actually owns a nail salon, him and his wife, and I showed him some of these videos, "Hey, Teresa," and I'm like, "What's how much would a nail job like that cost?" He looked at it, and he's a Vietnamese guy, right? He looked at it and goes, $400, you know how long it would take me to do that? So, when you see veterans, disabled, people recovering, elderly who don't have family, hey, Astatine, who are getting $100, 200, 300 a month. Then you see these people with these nails, they're driving a nice car. One was a TikToker, and get this was really funny because I found her going down this rabbit hole. She was making 4 grand a month on TikTok, but she was not declaring it. It was a 1099, so what she was doing was declaring like 1 grand of it. And then she was getting roughly 5,000 in support a month. And then when the feds pulled back the EBT, she issued a complaint and somebody went to investigate and they figured out what she was doing. So now not only is she not getting food stamps, she now has to pay back taxes for the 40 grand she made this year. And then someone else pointed out, he said, we have people who are working 40, 50 hours a week and can afford 8 items in a shopping cart. And then you have folks who are scamming the system and buying $1,000 worth of goods. So it's bad because it's going to affect a lot of people who really need it. And at the same time, it's also flushing out a lot of the people who've been scamming the system. My concern is the bold behavior I'm seeing, and I'm not seeing it on YouTube. The YouTubers are re-screening it, if you will. They're replaying these videos. But my concern is, and I think Texas Redleg just mentioned it, people are going to use this as an excuse to say, well, you know what? I can't get mine, so I'm going to take from someone else. And this is kind of one of those scenarios that preppers dread when you sit there and go, so they may not harass you in the store, but someone may stop you in the parking lot while you're loading your food. Um, I've had people comment on my Instagram and TikTok. One person put, I get 2,000 a month in food stamps. I spend all of it on food, and I'm not worried because I have an inventory now of about 4 months. So what she was doing, she's a widow from what I understood, is she bought what she needed for the month normally, but then she bought long-term stuff like pasta and rice, and she stored it in some way. I don't know if she food savored it or Mylar or whatever. But she was back, so she was buying bulk because she had kids and then putting half into a longer term scenario. So she was being smart. Now she said her big concern in the comments was her pet food. And I had someone else say, "Hey, we saw your video on, your freezer where your wife was food prepping. Many of you know I have at least one of my boys is uh, full-time Army, and he got paid on the 15th. We're not sure if he's getting paid. So we're in the meal prepping now, not only for us but for him. Now he's here in Texas, so he's coming back from an FTX. So I'm waiting for him to let me know when he's gonna like settle in and be unpacked. And I'm gonna be taking my Yeti or my cooler with frozen foods and bringing it to him and stocking his fridge. So now I'm prepping for 2 households, which wasn't hard, but we had to stop and think about it. Mr. Mad Shad, hey Gnostic, good to see you. Um, we had to actually think about that. Like, okay, we're gonna food meal prep for ourselves so we can save time. My wife's she's looking for a new job from her old one, so she's interviewing and she's doing Etsy stuff. We have she has an online store. I work full time, and then my son's in the army, and she's like, okay, so I got to figure out how to get groceries, make meals for us, meals for him, freeze them, and then freeze them in such a way that we can split them apart. And see, I got jokes too. I missed your joke, man. Hold on, I can't see. Greetings from Atlas 3I Earth. Oh, awesome. Um, hey, it helps if I put my glasses on. Now I can read the chat. Um, it helped to be able to sit down and think about it and say, okay, well, he likes these foods, we like those foods. Let's do this. So I have some canned goods that I'm going to bring to him as well. Um, so when he gets back from his training at his apartment, him and his roommate were training together. So I'm hopefully going to be able to bring some long-term like canned stuff as well as the meal prep frozen stuff that he can put in his fridge. And you took a little planning to do that. Actually, my wife spent 2 days just cooking foods. I had to teach her how to use the food saver, and then freezing. And we pretty much filled the garage freezer and now the in the house freezer. But these are things we should be doing now. Um, I can you man, camping chair and a spacesuit, awesome. Uh, these are things you can be doing now. So if you, because meal prepping actually saves you time during the week, right? Because you can take it, put it in the microwave, throw it in the pot, heat it. Hey, Christ, my king, and you can start eating right away. You don't have to cook, and you don't have to go to the store. In my mind, I started taking a 4 page. So red leg, I've got MREs and some of the boil and bag emergents, like the Readywise adventure meals. And I have another brand. It's not Nutrient Survival. It's another one. I can't remember. Oh, Mountain House from Academy. And I keep a little cooler in my SUV. I'm doing the same thing because you and I work in kind of the same areas at times, and I put water bottles so I can cook on the fly. I guess I don't. I need a camp oven. I have a little one. I should probably start bringing when I go to remote locations. But you can start meal prepping now. So we are what, the 24th? We're the 25th. So 5, 6 days before people really start freaking out. Now, people are going to the store now and causing scenes, but they shouldn't be they shouldn't be causing scenes. What they should be focusing on. No, yeah, and it would be a bad idea to steal in a 2A state or castle or stand your ground state. But now is a good time, even for all of us, even if you're not necessarily being affected by the EBTs. Hey, Barathes Farm, I think I totally misspelled that or mispronounced that, so I apologize. Now's a good time to get those basic things that last a long time, right? The sugar, the salt, the rice, flour, yeast. Even if you just have flour and you don't have yeast, you can still make hardtack. You can still make certain things with the flour. Uh, pancake mix is super cheap right now, and you could Mylar bag it. You can Ziploc it if you don't have a Mylar. You can food saver it. Um, you could put it in, which is what I do on my counter. I have a big mason jar, and that's what I use day to day on the weekends when I'm making pancakes. But then I keep other pancake mix in the box, and I keep some in Mylar bags for long-term storage. But you can get a pile of pancake batter or pancake mix, sorry, for not a hell of a lot of money for the amount of food. Yeah, so the sourdough, which you mentioned there, Gnostic, the sourdough is a great thing to do. It takes a little practice. I've done some of the um, I've done some of the 4 ingredient bread, but I use yeast from the container, so kind of cheating. The sourdough does help you because you can perpetuate the yeast if you do it right. Someone else mentioned, hold on, what was it? I just lost something here. Percolator coffee pot. Texas Redleg mentioned that. And so if you have a Keurig and you want to save money, don't buy the little cups. You can buy the little cups, right? But buy the reusable metal insert and then get regular coffee. or coffee beans. What I do, I like to get coffee beans and I have a grinder I got for 30 bucks, so it wasn't very expensive. And I grind the coffee every morning. I put it in that holder and I stick that in the Keurig. Okay. So I paid 10 bucks or 8 bucks, whatever the hell it was, for that little stainless steel insert. But you figure each of those Keurig cups, if you average it out, runs you about 75 cents, 50 cents. So two of them is a buck. So 16, after 16 Keurig cups, I've already paid for that stainless steel thing. And everything after that, you just save, and you could switch flavors if you want. It's not one shot and you throw it in the trash. On a side note, if the power goes out, each Keurig cup, the ones that are pre-filled, actually has 2.5 tablespoons of coffee in it, believe it or not. I actually measured this out. I probably need to do that again. I made a video a while ago. So you can actually open 2 of those, stick that in an old school coffee filter, and do hot water pour over, and get coffee anyway. So there are different ways to make something like coffee, but think in those terms. Like I have the sandwich maker that I got. God, I got that like 3 years ago, and I paid 20 bucks for it. And I can make basically an egg McMuffin in there, but a homemade one. So I can go and pay 7 bucks for an egg McMuffin, or I can make one. And when I did the numbers, I think it came out to 275. Okay, that's over 50% savings. We need to start thinking like that. You can also cook 5 or 6 of those sandwiches, wrap them in plastic, and food saver them and freeze them. And now you have a pre-made, pre-cooked breakfast sandwich in your fridge for your kids, for yourself. If you can't get to the grocery store, I'm trying to think of ways to get stuff now and cook and prepare meals and store the raw ingredients such that I don't have to go to the store when November 1st hits, because the big freak out will happen then. Yeah, and a lot of the Walmarts, of course, you read Redleg's comment right there. A lot of the Walmarts are trying to clear out stuff for the holidays. So you might go and find some good deals, but it would be good for you to shop around, go Gator Jambalaya. God, I haven't had gator tails in a very long time, KP. So here's another one, right? I went to a farmer's market and I bought a way overpriced iced tea. It was like 7 bucks for freaking iced tea. But I got this cup and I've been using this cup so now I have like I got this you adult size sippy cup out of that. I don't I can't read your name. ISATQ, sorry. I might have screwed up your name there. Um, I don't think so, because I think in rural towns, people tend to be more interconnected, and people usually go to a church or have a community around them. I think in the cities where you have millions of people who live next door and don't know each other, that's where you're gonna start seeing misbehavior. And I could be wrong, you're always gonna get jerks anywhere, right? You can always get bad players in any part of the world. But I believe more in the cities. Thank you, Farmer. I appreciate it. Um, in the cities where people don't know each other and people are isolated, I think it's a little easier for people to, if they're sitting alone in their apartment and they get on TikTok and they see all this garbage, they're going to get riled up and say, "Yeah, I'm going to go and steal from other people." And I actually think some of this social media has been the biggest psyop in the universe, because we've basically convinced a whole generation that they don't know if they're male or female, that it's okay to rob people in grocery stores, that certain organizations don't exist and others do. And it's just very easy to manipulate people that are separated from other human beings. And I think that's one of the things we lost in 2020, is that human connection, right? Um, hell, when I was a kid, I learned the hard way because I had a mouth when I was a kid, and I'd go and say smart things, and then I get my ass beat. I can't count the number of fights that I lost. Sometimes I just got beat up. I didn't even know where it came from, and largely because I said dumb things. And so I realized if I say dumb things, I get a consequence if I'm not judicious about when I say them. And so I think that's gone. So now you notice most of the people who are doing the shooting, the kid who shot Trump in the ear, the kid who killed Charlie Kirk allegedly, um, these monkeys that are fighting with ICE over in Portland, they're all either very old, right? So they're at homebound and all they do is have social media, or they're between 22 and 18. Now, subtract 5 years from their age, and they were teenagers when we shut down for COVID. Think about that. We're 2026 almost. So if I'm 23 now, I was what, 17, right? When COVID hit. If I'm 20 years old now, how old was I during COVID? 15, 14. So those formative years where all of us, most of us, went out and learned how to be adults and how to interact with humans as young adults was taken from them for 3 years. And then we set them loose on the street. And of course they're rioting and they don't know how to behave. I mean, for God's sake, there was a guy spat in an ICE agent on TV. Like, he was in front of the camera, and the camera's like, "Oh, and here we are," and then he spat. Well, what do you think the ICE agent did? And then he took him to the ground, and then they were fighting. And, chance big storm today, internet really spotty. We had a big storm yesterday, but, we have a large populace who doesn't know how to act with other adults. And if we thought the Rona riots were bad and the George Floyd was bad and January 6th was bad and all these other little spot situations, imagine when, and I don't know, what is the populace that is on, that's a good question. Hold on a second. We're going to do some live we're going to do a little live research here if I can make that happen. So what percentage of US homes get EBT support? I'm just curious. Like, what's the percentage here? Do to do. Oh wow. EBT, electronic benefits transfer cards, are primarily used to deliver SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits, the main federal food assistance program. Based on the latest available data from fiscal year 23, so this is old, approximately 12.5% of US households receive EBT support. That would be about 22 million households on 2023. 79% of SNAP households include children, elderly individuals, those with disabilities. Benefits are means tested, with 73% of households at or below the federal poverty line. So um, that's a lot of households, y'all. Um, I've told folks on other platforms, and they were fully stocked. I won't say when they look like in a week, and it'll be hard to say a chance. I've told people on the other platforms is, hey, Arkansas, stock up on longer term, easy to store foods, the rice, the pastas, canned foods. They're generally cheaper pound for pound, right? I would tell you right now, I'm a Readywise affiliate. Readywise is very specific. It has a niche that it's great for. This isn't one of them. I mean, if you get some, great, wonderful, but I would focus on the economic stuff, canned goods, dry beans, rice, flour, sugar, yeast if you don't sourdough. Um, Start cooking meals now and freezing them and Ziploc them or food saver them. I would also encourage you to get an understanding of how to cook. Okay, part of the problem is a lot of people don't know how to cook, so they get microwave meals, right? And that's wonderful. You get a bunch of chemicals and sodium, but then when EBT falls off, you get a microwave pizza or microwavable bread, something pre-made versus making your own, or just getting a loaf of bread and knowing how to make garlic bread out of like a $2 Italian loaf. Um, Being able to do those things will save you money. and most importantly, keeps you out of the stores, and I think that's where I'm trying to go with this. Yes, thrift stores, grab cookbooks. You will find them cheap. Um, I do cooking videos. I've done some where I've done different types of recipes. There's some YouTube channels, that's all they do. There's so many cheap and inexpensive options to find recipes for cooking, and we have the internet. There's no reason not to. Um, but folks need to focus on inexpensive, put on stove until burning smell. There you go. But probably not till burning smell, but I get where you're going, Champ. Uh, Also, yeah, Red Leg has a good point there. I like to go either early in the morning or in the middle of the day because I'm usually running around sugar and sodium withdrawal. Ooh, yeah, that would be scary. Hey, NC Douglas, how are you? Um, yeah, and if you get good at baking your own bread, you don't waste product. I'm competent enough to make bread. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's kind of edible, but not awesome. But that's a me thing. I need to just go and practice more. Right now, my kitchen's a disaster because we did all those meal preps, and then Uh, we finished doing our lighting and our canopies in the yard. We did it ourselves, which probably saved us 2 grand doing it. And we just finished this weekend, and now I'm going to pivot back to inventorying my canned goods. Some of that's going to go to my son because I'm not sure if the army is going to get paid this month, and at least I know he's fed. He may not have money for beer, but damn it, the boy's gonna eat. And somehow, if you've been in the military, you know soldiers and sailors will always find alcohol. Somebody's gonna have booze. But anyway, yeah, being able to see a bread making machine. We used to have one, and somehow we lost it during a reload. Girl, don't sniff the tripod. Uh, so come here, Storms. So for those of you who remember the little puppy, remember how small she was? This is the big puppy now. So this is the youngest of the group. And no, no, sit. No, I don't need you up here. Go over there. Go play with him. Then she's going to agitate Bentley, and they're going to fight. Uh, but churches, um, community center, the philanthropic groups, Lions Club, Rotary Club, VFW, American Legion may have food drives or food availability. So see if that's a resource. If you or someone you know is going to struggle with this, okay? We've got 5 days, and I said this last week, and someone pointed out, well, they may have no money from the 15th. Okay, well, if they have no money, they're on their own, right? But if you have any funds left, focus on getting those longer term preps, the cheaper preps. No shame, get canned goods, get the tuna, get the canned chicken, um, get the crackers. Hell in college, how many of us lived on mac and cheese and tuna and crackers? I mean, we I used to eat tuna out of a can when I worked in operations in the field as a young bachelor. I was like, "Pff, I got tuna and I got a tortilla," which now thinking about it is the nastiest thing in the world. But yeah, I basically made a raw tuna taco in the field because that's what I had to eat. Like you can get by figuring stuff out. Wolfang, what's going on? So what I will tell everyone, if you think you or someone you love or someone you're concerned with may struggle with this EBT shutdown, um, have them start if they still have money on their card or if they have any funds, focus on the cheap long-term stuff, canned goods, canned meat, canned tuna, pastas, rice, beans, and they need to know how to make the stuff, not just don't just buy it and put it in the pantry. Know how to cook with it. If you're a hunter or you know a hunter and they can slide you some meat from the venison, wonderful. Um, if you can meal prep, if you can cook now, and so when you do go to work, if you're working and you go to work, you don't want to go to the store or go to a restaurant, you have something frozen at the house you can take with you in a small cooler and nuke it at work or nuke it at the house when you come home for lunch, and you don't have to go on the store. Um, but check those other alternate locations, the charitable organization, the churches, the food banks, um, also, talk to your neighbors, right? If your neighbor's in a bind and you're in a bind, but you each have 10 bucks, you can buy a $15 bag of rice, which is a big bag, split it in half, and each of you benefits from the lower cost per ounce or per pound, however it's sold. Um, no damage to the deer, got free meat from the deer. See, there you go. Modern refugee hit a deer. Well, I'm glad he didn't damage the vehicle. See, that would have sucked. Um, make sure you have your meds. Make sure you have your scripts. Aside from that option, so aside from finding options for food, if you think you're going to struggle or someone you know is going to struggle, the second thing is if you do have to go to the store, be very mindful of who's around you, how they're behaving, and what they're doing. Because again, on TikTok, Instagram, people are talking mad bullshit about, oh, well, we're just going to take from the stores. And I would encourage you, if you see something go down in the store, someone's fighting over beer, don't worry about it. That's not your fight. Let security or the cops or the store manager deal with it. Don't get involved. But I will tell you, if you're going to your car and someone's following you, be mindful. People may try to steal your shit. Will they do it? I don't know, but they're threatening to, and they're encouraging other people to do it. And that's what bothers me the most is these creators may not do it, right? They may talk all this BS on the internet and they're not going to go do it, but someone else with less brain cells is going to be like, "Oh, well she said I could do it." And they're going to go and act out with people. And that's just not a good idea at all. Um, and lastly, you want to minimize your exposure at the stores and prep the meals. So again, look for alternative places to get food if you need it. Buy with your neighbors if you can. Buy the cheap longer term stuff. It may not be gourmet, but it'll get you by. Plan now. You have 5 days before everyone realizes whether or not they have EBT. um, Learn how to cook the shit you buy and get to know your neighbors and see if any of them. Yeah, Higgy, absolutely. uh, get to know your neighbors and see if any of them have any ideas. You may be able to trade, and I've said this before, I like to Mylar and food saver smaller amounts, right? You could put a 5-gallon bucket of rice, that's wonderful, but now when you open it, you have 5 gallons of open rice. Instead, I like to do gallon bags of rice because I can go to a neighbor and say, "Hey, do you have, I don't know, powdered milk? I'll give you, half a pound of rice for powdered milk," and you immediately go into a barter system. Also, if you have to help someone, like my son, I'm going to go bring stuff to my son. I can break out smaller portions and say, "Here, so here's a pack of rice, here's a pack of meat, here's a pack of this, pack of that. There you go, done." And it's a lot easier to transport, which is another thing. I would encourage you to meal prep at home so when you go to work, you don't have to go to restaurants, don't have to go to stores. I would encourage you, unless they get this figured out between now and whenever the EBT is supposed to go through, I would encourage you to prep so that you don't have to go to the stores, you don't have to expose yourself to any threats, you don't have to go out of work for lunch to go to a restaurant or to a Walmart or Kmart to get a oh, Kmart, good lord. Uh, what's that other place? Kroger or United to go get a sandwich. You can eat at work. You go from work to the house, house to work, and yes, Loretta's got an absolutely good point. If you must go somewhere, let someone you know, and if let someone know where you're going, and if you can go together, that's even better. Hey, Ruby Red Bud, welcome. Um, that looks like Moonsprout symbol. Uh, but in any case, folks, start thinking now. Go get the blue light special. Yeah, I just dated myself when I said Kmart. Good lord. Um, I saw a Kmart the other day. I thought I was hallucinating. Do they still exist anywhere? Or is it just like some random store decided to call itself Kmart? Um, but in any case, folks, look, you got 5 days. Try to plan, reach out to the people close to you and see if anybody's going to struggle. And if they are going to struggle, give them those options. Check the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, the VFW, the American Legion. If you're a veteran or have a veteran in the family, a VA may be able to help you. Um, Also, your churches. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I had a local church in Houston during Hurricane Harvey literally shut down half the buildings so the sheriff's deputies could use the back of the church as police headquarters because the sheriff's department got flooded during the storm. And then you had that big church, what's his name? Osteen's church, Lakewood Church, Faith Church, whatever it's called, that big one that looks like a stadium. And the church sent all the leaders and the pastors' families to Cancun, and they kept the church closed. They didn't have any fundraisers, no food distributions, nothing. Um, if you're tithing or being part of a church and they can't even help you get some pasta, that I would. My church had when my wife went in the hospital, they actually dropped off meals for the kids for 3 nights so I could go back and forth to the hospital and not have to worry about, dinner. So but you don't have to wait for a church to do it. You could talk to your neighbors. You can have your friends and family. Um, don't forget your meds, because your meds are gonna be important, and you don't wanna have to go to the store with if everyone's being stupid, you don't wanna have to go there. What concerns me is that look at the riots we had over George Floyd and Breonna, what's her name, whose boyfriend shot at the cops, and he's the one who really got her killed. Um, the January 6th, all this stuff that happened, and these were isolated incidents that caused riots. How do you think people are going to act? And we've said it before in the videos. How are they going to act if food gets cut short? And here's another thing somebody pointed out, and I didn't even think of it at first till they said it, was okay, so say I get $2,000 a month EBT. So now I don't get 2,000 a month. So I'm going to the money I was going to spend on whatever my hair, nails, whatever other nonsense, right? I have to redirect for food, right? Because I'm not getting that support. Somewhere along the chain, I'm not going to be spending $2,000. Well, that's 2,000 bucks less going to the store. So the store is going to be making a lot less profit. And if the store is making a lot less profit, um, yeah, chance exactly. The pharmacies are usually inside the grocery store, or the pharmacy, like a Walgreens, is kind of a little bit of everything. Um, but where I was going with this was, you have all this millions and billions of dollars suddenly are going to disappear from the economy, right? So not only are people not going to be able to buy food, the money that they would use to buy food is not going to be used to pay the employees of the grocery store. And those folks now may have less hours. The grocery store may cut hours or may reduce overtime because they're not making as much money. So now the workers have less money to spend, and it becomes a cascading effect. So I'm kind of concerned that at first it would be the EBT folks, but then within a couple of weeks, it may be other stuff all going sideways at once. So be mindful of that. Pay attention when you go out to the stores this weekend and when you go around this week. Kind of get a feel for how people are acting. What do the stores look like normally? And then if a week, 2 weeks from now, you go to the store and it's an absolute crap show or really fat. Yeah, no, NC Douglas. Yeah, no truth. Um, you go to a store and you see it's an absolute crap show and there's a line out the door and people are arguing. Well, you already know, wow, I went to the store last week and the people were in line and everyone was nice. Now I come in here, people are yelling. I need to not be here. Turn around and leave. Right. Um, again, my mission tomorrow, now that I got my landscaping stuff done, and my wife did the meal preps for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for us and for the son. Now I'm going to go and inventory canned foods. I'm going to inventory dry foods. I'm going to go through all my stuff and see, okay, what gaps do I have? Am I missing something? Do I need more? I don't know, dry milk? Do I need bread? Um, I'm just throwing things out there. You guys get what I'm saying. But now's a good time to kind of back up and just evaluate what you need and then prioritize so that every dollar has the maximum benefit for you. And yes, unfortunately, if people are gonna or encouraging others to be violent or to steal stuff from you, They already do jugging, which started in Houston, sadly. And basically, what it is they watch you at an ATM and then they follow you home and then they rob you in your driveway, right? Well, most people, if I'm taking a large amount of cash from an ATM or from a bank, I'm going to really be paying attention to people around me, right? Like, I know I have money. Somebody could chase me. People don't do that when they go to the grocery store. I went to buy bread, milk, and eggs. I'm not expecting, McMuffin to come attack me in the driveway. But apparently, they're now encouraging people to do that. So now you have to pay attention to that stuff. So if something doesn't feel right, you're at the store, you're in the parking lot, you're driving home, you think you're being followed, call the law, ask them, where do I go? Drive to the police station if you know where it is. Um, Try to avoid a confrontation at all costs if you can. And you can absolutely avoid confrontation by not having to go to the store in the first place. So, like Redleg said earlier, meds, make sure you have food, make sure you have what you need at home, and then you meal prep so when you do go to work, if you're working, you don't have to leave for lunch. You can eat at work, even if you have to eat in your car in the parking lot. I've done that. I'll nuke whatever it is I brought and heat it up in the microwave, and then I'll go sit in my car and listen to the news and eat in the car, and then I'll go right back into the building, and I don't have to. I don't have to be out and about and exposed to stupid people. So folks, be careful, be smart out there. Med Chat, are you going on tonight? This was a totally off schedule live for me, and I swear you go on Saturdays, but I don't remember. Just changed my handle in live chat. And does anyone know if Mad Chat, anyone going on live tonight that I don't want to go live, not feeling okay, so Mad Chat's taking the night off. But yeah, scan the parking lots, pay attention. If you can go shopping as a group, great. And remember, talk to other people. So like if I'm going to the store and my neighbor has a new baby or one of my coworkers just literally he had Irish twins, so he's got an 18-month-old and a newborn. And I've texted him, "Hey dude, I'm going to the store. You guys need anything?" I don't mind grabbing something extra, running it to him and dropping him. So he doesn't have him and his wife don't have to take the baby out. You guys can help each other, right? If you're already at the store, call your sister, call your brother, your friend, and go, "Hey, I'm at the store. Do you need anything?" They can give you cash. They can Venmo you or PayPal, whatever the hell app they want to use, or they can give you a six pack when you get home. Um, yes, and CJ, no different ways home. Know where the cops are. Know the non-emergency number. You should have that in your phone, uh, because sometimes 911 is going to be clogged if things get crazy. Mad Shad, you can open carry a battle axe in Texas now, but it has to be in a proper holder, which is funny. And yes, I've actually seen a guy with a gladius on his back. Actually asked to take a picture of it, and he's like, "Yeah," but then he couldn't like get it to turn or like the way the sun it was. We just couldn't get a good photo, and I'm like, "Okay, man, next time I see you." But yes, you are allowed to carry a blade of any type in Texas, open, but it has to be properly carried. In other words, you can't run around with a battle axe and being an asshole. Um, but you can have a gladius on your back. And that's fine. I see guys all the time. It's kind of funny because this part of Texas, you have so many ranchers, solar workers, oil and gas workers, the linemen with the power lines. You have welders. People are walking around. They've got knives. They've got K-bars. They've got one guy had like a whole kit of tools. He had his whole tool kit around his waist and he walked into the barbecue place because he's like, I need food and I got to go right back to work. So he went, got his food, and out he went. Um, I see open carry all the time here. The funniest one was an old man, and I shit you not, he had a 45 long Colt single action revolver, like John Wayne 1950s, in a leather holster. It was the most amazing, glorious little gun I've ever seen. I would not want to get shot with that thing, and I bet that old man could still sling it. Um, but yeah, if you have a legal means to defend yourself in your jurisdiction, do so. Sadly, it may come to that. I hope they figure this out, and I hope they can settle their asses down. But there are people on social media encouraging others to steal what they want. So, a friend of mine in Texas working the solar fields. The solar, I gotta do a video of those fields because it's just insane. Oh yeah, I mean, he had the hat. Shaddy had the hat, the boots, the shirt, the whole 9 yards. And he was at the farmer's market. He's walking around with a German Shepherd. Like you couldn't have gotten more like stereotypical cowboy than that dude. All he needed to do was be riding a horse in the farmer's market. It would have been perfect. Hey Tammy, welcome. So folks, look, if the EBT thing is a problem, for those of you kind of jumped in a little late, EBT, you think that might affect you or someone you love, check alternate sources, philanthropic groups, Lions Club, VFW, Rotary Club. Check your churches, check your food banks. Food banks are going to be a hot mess, though, so just be aware. Check Mission Agape if you have one of those there. They're usually private groups. Um, Also, talk to your neighbors. If any of them are close to you and you want to buy a bulk, go to Costco and buy a 25, 30-pound bag of rice and split it. And now each of you pays 12 bucks. You get to save a lot of money and you get quite a bit of product. If you do buy, focus on the cheap, longer term goods, canned goods, tuna, fish, the tuna, chicken, beef, canned beef, all that canned stuff that we ate when we were kids, and the parents told us don't eat all of that because you get too much sodium. Might be a good time to do it. Chef Boyardee, it's not awesome, but it's edible and you can eat it out of the can. The pastas, the rice, the beans, know how to cook all this stuff so you can make a decent meal out of it. Don't focus on the goodies. Don't focus on the booze. Obviously, if you can get a six pack to make life happier, that's fine. But stay focused. If you go to the stores, pay attention because in the next couple of weeks, people may start freaking out. You just don't want to be part of that. The more you cook in advance, have in advance at the house, so you don't have to go into the stores. You don't have to deal with the stupid people. Um, that's the way to do it. And just be smart and be practical. Make sure every dollar you spend gives you the most bang for the buck. And yeah, like I said, Readywise, nutrient survival, all these emergency foods are wonderful, but they're very expensive pound for pound versus canned tuna. So be smart this time. This is all about economy, economics, saving money, and planning out your meals. And again, as I said earlier in the video, if you can cook stuff in advance, wrap it, food saver it, freeze it, or Ziploc it. If you don't have a food saver, freezer it. Um, you don't have to go out to eat because you already cooked the meals for the week at the house. So anyway, folks, I'm going to leave you with those thoughts. Pay attention, be smart, don't panic. It doesn't help anything. But pay attention. People are acting very erratic. People are starting to freak. And that concerns me is the behavior that I'm seeing on the internet. It's almost like they're justifying that it's okay to go and steal someone else's food after they bought it from whatever store and go attack them in the stop at the rotisserie. Uh, they'll want to screw with you and steal your shit before you get to your car. So be careful, be safe. Yes, as Higgy pointed out, situational awareness. And what I'm going to do in the coming weeks, I'm going to pivot a lot of my videos now to talk about food preps, meal preps, storage, and economic stuff. I'm going to get away from some of the more techie. I love to do technical reviews on products. So, if I spent 30 bucks, 50 bucks and it sucks and I save you 50 bucks, so you don't buy it, wonderful. But I'm going to focus a little bit more on this kind of meal prep, food prep stuff. So, Mad Shad Solar Field is basically a solar farm, if you will. Um, but they're massive here. Like they're just insane. I drove past one. It took me 5 minutes at 60 miles an hour to get around the thing. So it's really wild. Um, but in any case, folks, be careful out there and be safe. Plan out your stuff, right? The trick is going to be get ahead of the curve, Have what you need at home, cook it in advance, minimize your exposure to the people in the street, and help each other out. By all means, if you have any ideas you want to put in the comments below about how people can save money, any sales you want to shout out, let me know. And, if something goes on sale that people can get a bulk deal, we'll let people know and see if they can save some money because now it's going to be about economics and minimizing your risk of stupid people. You guys be good, be safe, have a great weekend, and God bless all of y'all. And pray for our troops overseas. I don't know what's going on in Venezuela. That's a whole nother video, but I don't want to see any of our guys get tangled up in a war that we just don't need at this point. You guys take care of yourselves.